Hey y'all, I'm doing YouTube now. If you're here from TikTok, you probably know this, but things have been getting pretty crazy. But I finally found enough time to go ahead and start this channel up. Don't know what the schedule for this is gonna be, but like and subscribe to support. That would be really helpful. That said, let's get straight into it. Big corporations are sort of in their flop era right now. Of course, I am all over this, but wow, there are some pretty stupid people up on Wall Street making decisions. So let's start off with the first company that I wanted to talk about, which is Amazon. Amazon does a lot. Most of us know it as a delivery company, but they're really into the big tech space. And they're huge fans of invading your privacy. For example, just a couple weeks ago, they bought Roomba, which can help them literally make maps of the inside of your house and possibly sell that information to law enforcement. So, Amazon is definitely a pro-working class company, I'd say. But even on the delivery side of Amazon, things are really bad inside the company. According to a Forbes report in October, they employ about 1 million people worldwide, and they are notorious for being absolute awful employers. There have been reports of wage theft, people saying that the company uses some absolutely draconian methods of ensuring that people are always productive, to the point of literally limiting bathroom breaks, and the company has a history of hiring ambulances to just wait outside the fulfillment centers for when employees inevitably drop from exhaustion. Knowing all that, it might not surprise you that the company has a really high turnover rate. The latest estimates put the turnover rate at about 3% weekly, or about 150% annually. That's, bad. In fact, it's so bad that the company is literally expected to run out of workers by 2024. Initially, Amazon's high turnover rate was actually a good thing for the company because it meant that it was a lot harder to unionize. But now people are beginning to understand why unions are a good thing, not just for the workers, but also for the company. Because turns out when you're the largest retailer in basically the world and you start running out of people to employ, you have a problem. Me sowing versus me reaping, basically. But of course, mega corporations will never simply improve conditions for employees. No, it seems that the way that Amazon is trying to bring in new employees is to literally build company towns. You know, those things that are notoriously horrible because they tie your entire life to a singular employer and make you literally at their mercy 100%. But of course, Bloomberg thinks it's a great thing because affordable housing and new jobs, what's not to love from the perspective of an outer touch boomer millionaire? Yeah, Amazon is already a company that's very invasive, but this is just a new level of cringe. We should, not let this become a norm. The next company on my list is Disney. I really think they need no introduction, but in case you didn't know, somehow, Disney is a massive mega corporation that controls almost all of the entertainment sphere. If not directly, then indirectly. But lately it seems like Disney and its subsidiaries have not been putting out the same quality of work, let's say. Like the MCU, which is getting kind of dogpiled lately. A lot of fans are not very pleased with the direction that Phase 4 is taking the MCU. I wouldn't know, of course, because I haven't watched most of the films that have come out of Phase 4, but if you look on Twitter, then they're absolutely losing their mind. I think people are just ready for a new kind of superhero movie than the one that the MCU has been constantly plugging, evidenced by the success of the Batman movie, which is very tonally and even visually different. Because Disney has become such a monopoly, they've started resorting to using these very cookie-cutter ways of creating entertainment, and it's become incredibly easy to spot. And if you're not the exact demographic that is targeted towards, it gets very tiring very quickly. A kind of similar thing happened, albeit on a quicker scale, with Lucasfilms and the Star Wars franchise.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
I mean, what is there to say about this? But hey, I'm a commie, and this is a mega corporation. If I didn't discuss their abusive practices towards workers, we wouldn't even be here. The other reason people are really upset at Disney is because it has not been kind to CGI artists. I think what really started this discussion was, again, The Batman, which is just a very visually stunning movie. I think that what really shocked people was that a movie about superheroes could be done with so many practical effects. And that led people to start looking at how the Marvel Cinematic Universe uses CGI. And the results were not pleasant. For example, in Infinity War, less than 3% of the shots didn't have any VFX. And then there's the fact that they're releasing more projects per year, which means that together they're putting on a very strenuous load on the out-of-house VFX companies. There are dozens of complaints from CGI workers talking about how working for Marvel has left them overworked and underpaid and not willing to work for the company ever again. But because Marvel and Disney are so big, they can essentially just get away with abusing workers like this. And there's also the fact that VFX workers are famously not unionized. Unfortunately, even Disney's more mid-movies like Thor or the last Star Wars movies can still turn out massive audiences, and people will always show up for a new Avengers movie. Unless something major happens, I really don't see anything happening to Disney's hegemony. And on that optimistic note, let's turn over to our third company, which is HBO Max. HBO Max is a streaming service that was until recently considered to be one of the best. But in a move that I'm predicting is already going to be this decade's best case for antitrust legislation, Warner Bros., which owns HBO Max, has decided to merge with Discovery Plus. This merger leaves a man named David Zaslav in charge of all of your favorite movies and TV shows, and he has not been particularly kind to the streaming service. Probably the first thing that he did that rang some serious alarm bells was canceling the Batgirl movie post-production. And since then, almost nothing that we've heard from the company has been good. It looks like the content in the most danger is animated shows, which sucks because Warner Brothers and DC in general tends to put out really good animated content, such as Young Justice, which has not been renewed for season 5. Hello, Warner Brothers, I will show up outside of your house. I know that I have a rocky relationship with the show. I know that season 3 was disappointing, but season 4 turned it around, and I need this. I need my Jason Todd arc. The stated reason for this is because the company was apparently $3 billion in debt, which is pretty bad, but doing this has meant that Warner Brothers Discovery has literally lost a market value of like $20 billion. And also, apparently, they only have enough money to release 2 movies this year, which is, like, bad. So yeah, everyone loses here, but especially the fans and creators of shows like Infinity Train, who literally have to watch their, like, content go down the drain to make more space for the Flash movie with non-binary criminal Ezra Miller, and also Love Island, but like an expanded universe this time. Not to mention that the company just seems to be generally bigoted and is seemingly getting rid of a lot of diversity for like no reason. I'm gonna chalk this one up to just another reason why business majors should never be in charge of anything, but definitely never art, because they're just generally horrible at making decisions. And we'll move on to our final contestant of the night, which is Elon Musk in general. Elon Musk is a pretty controversial figure. You pretty much have to either love him or hate him. Unfortunately, the fact that he's plugged into meme Twitter means that all the crypto bros go goo goo gaga. And I really wish that people would treat him like other billionaires and just kind of all mutually hate him. We're gonna skip over some of his more well-known controversies, like the fact that he's a magnificent scam artist and also a profiteer of his father's broad emerald mines. He also has a lot of deeper personal failings, other than just being magnificently cringe. The reason I'm mad at him right now is because it recently came out that his California Hyperloop project, which was largely called out as a scam and inefficient from the very start, was mostly dreamed up because he didn't like California's high-speed rail system. Elon Musk has gone on the record of not liking public transportation because he's an entitled rich douchebag. That alone is flop era worthy, but the fact that he couldn't simply hold this classist opinion in his exploding car and now had to project that awful reality of private transportation onto the rest of us is awful. I could rant for hours about America's lackluster public transportation and how rich billionaires always seem to get their way in this society, but there's people who have done it far better than me, so just check those videos out. Elon Musk is just a weird dude in general. Lately he's gotten in some hot water because he made some pretty Malthusian claims about population decline, which are simply not true and only apply if you're like a person who thinks that the West needs to be preserved and that we're falling into the hordes of, global southerners or something. Which is how we were all introduced to Elon Musk's breeding kink. By the way, any and all information I learn about Elon Musk is absolutely against my will. But the other big thing that Elon Musk is in trouble with is his recent purchase of Twitter, or rather, attempted purchase of Twitter. He ended up backing out, supposedly because he didn't believe that Twitter was doing an accurate assessment of how many bots were on the site. And then Twitter was like, hey, that's not allowed. And now his loser ass is going to court. Honestly though, it kind of seems like the whole reason he backed out is because he's a little brokey who isn't enough of a top J to actually carry through. I think the very clear moral of this story is to use Tumblr because on that site there are no blue checks and you can edit the post whenever you want. Anyway, I am tired now, so I think I'm gonna call it quits for this one. This is really fun. I think I'm gonna make more of these. Bye.